Hello there, and welcome to another night beneath the quiet sky. Tonight, you are invited to drift through a hidden world that breathes beneath every forest, every garden, and every footstep you take. It is a world older than the first trees, quieter than the stars reflected on water, and yet so alive that it hums beneath your skin. As you close your eyes, imagine the air cooling slightly, carrying the faint scent of earth after rain. The ground feels soft, breathing gently, and somewhere in the dark soil below, an entire kingdom waits, patient, luminous, and full of secrets. This is the world of mushrooms. You might think of mushrooms as small, curious shapes rising from the forest floor, but they are far more than what you see. They are the fruiting whispers of something vast and ancient. Threads of life called mycelium weaving endlessly beneath the surface. If you could see through the soil, you would find rivers of white filaments stretching through roots and stones, carrying messages and nourishment across great distances. Each step you take in a forest is above a silent universe of connections, a living network that ties every tree, plant, and creature together. Let yourself slow down here. The night is still, the forest breathing softly around you. Every sound has its place: the rustle of a leaf, the drop of water sliding from moss, the gentle sigh of wind through distant branches. And underneath it all, invisible but ever present, the pulse of fungi continues, like the quiet rhythm of the planet's heart. Mushrooms do not rush. They wait. They sense moisture, warmth, and the subtle chemistry of decay, then emerge when the time is right, overnight miracles rising from the ground after rain. Their patience has shaped the world for over 1 billion years. Long before flowers bloomed or forests grew, fungi were already here, transforming rock into soil, carving the way for life to flourish. Without them, the earth would be buried beneath the weight of its own past. Every fallen leaf, every ancient tree, every memory of life finds rest in their quiet care. As you breathe, imagine the air filling with invisible travelers, countless spores drifting through the light. They are so small that they can float for miles, some even reaching the upper layers of the atmosphere. You have been breathing them all your life without knowing it. They connect you to distant forests, to rain-soaked meadows, to the deep green shadows where mushrooms grow unseen. The air itself becomes a soft bridge, linking you to the hidden network of the living world. Now picture one of these mushrooms up close. Its surface is delicate and smooth, shining faintly with dew. Beneath its cap, countless gills radiate outward like the pages of a book, each one carrying the potential for new life. In the right light, you might see a faint glow, green or blue, a reminder that even darkness can bloom with its own kind of light. Some mushrooms glow constantly through the night, their luminescent hum flickering among roots and stones. To see one in person is to witness the forest breathing in color. There is an ancient calm to this kingdom. Fungi do not compete for attention, they thrive in shadow, feeding on what others leave behind, turning death into life again. They are the quiet recyclers of the world, transforming fallen wood into fertile earth. Every blade of grass and every tree that stands owes its strength to their hidden labor. Somewhere beneath the moss, a web of threads is at work, binding the soil, sharing the nutrients, and holding the world together. As you listen, the distinction between yourself and this world begins to blur. The air you exhale feeds the roots. The breath you take carries the memory of leaves long turned to dust. You are part of the same cycle, woven into the same silent story. Life, decay, and rebirth are not opposites here, they are a rhythm, gentle and endless, playing softly in the soil beneath your feet. Mushrooms remind us of patience and persistence. They appear fragile, yet they can survive in fire-scorched forests, frozen mountains, even the ruins of nuclear reactors. Their spores can endure the vacuum of space, floating through the cosmos like seeds waiting for a new home. Somewhere, beyond what we can see, the same chemistry that grows a mushroom from decay may also give rise to life among the stars. Let these thoughts settle like mist. The forest is no longer a place outside you. It has become a part of your breathing. Beneath you, threads of mycelium hum softly, sharing energy with trees and plants, connecting everything that grows. Above, the canopy moves gently with the wind. Between the two, earth and sky, the mushrooms stand as quiet translators, bridging darkness and light, decay and renewal, sleep and awakening. As you rest in this stillness, remember that life's most powerful work often happens unseen. The networks that hold the planet together rarely announce themselves. They simply endure, weaving strength from silence, beauty from decay, and meaning from time. Tonight, as you fall asleep, you are resting on that same foundation, the ancient web that nourishes every living thing. So take one last breath before the journey begins. Let the quiet rhythm of the earth sink into you. Feel the weight of the day dissolve, replaced by the softness of the forest night. The story of mushrooms is not just about what lives under the soil. It is a story about connection, transformation, and the calm strength that grows in stillness. When you are ready, we will begin to explore their world more deeply, a world where science becomes poetry. And every secret breath of the forest reminds you that life never truly ends. Close your eyes and imagine walking through a forest just after rain. The air is cool and heavy with the scent of wet leaves. Each step releases a soft hush from the ground as the earth exhales moisture. Sunlight filters through the canopy in faint golden strands, catching tiny particles of mist that dance between trunks and branches. Somewhere nearby, you notice shapes rising gently from the soil, curved like tiny umbrellas, pale and delicate yet strong enough to lift pebbles and fallen leaves. These are mushrooms, but what you see above ground is only the beginning of their story. Beneath your feet lies a hidden world, older than the roots of the trees themselves. It is not made of stone or water but of threads so fine that thousands could fit through the eye of a needle. These threads form mycelium, the body of the fungus. To the eye it would look like lace woven into the earth, spreading across hills and valleys, linking every living thing. This network is not chaos, it is order beyond comprehension. Through it, the forest speaks in a language of chemistry and electricity, words carried not by sound but by flow. Imagine for a moment that the ground beneath you is alive with this silent communication. When one tree needs water, another may share it through the web. When a sapling struggles in shade, nearby elders send sugars to its roots. Fungi make this exchange possible, acting as couriers, translators, and caretakers all at once. The forest becomes less a collection of individuals and more a single living organism, its consciousness distributed through threads of mycelium glowing softly in the dark. It feels almost impossible, but the same pattern appears again and again in nature, in the neurons of your brain, in the filaments of the universe, in the connections between species. Every network follows the same quiet rule. That strength is not in isolation but in connection. The more you link, the more you live. Mushrooms and their invisible threads have been building such connections for over 1 billion years, turning barren landscapes into ecosystems. When you think of the green world around you, Remember that it began with fungi breaking down the first rocks and teaching roots how to drink from the soil. Somewhere deep in time, before forests, before flowers, there were giant mushrooms rising like towers. Fossils show that they may have stretched more than 20 feet into the air. Feeding on minerals and lightless decay, they stood as the tallest life forms of their age, quiet architects of the land that would one day bloom with color. Though their bodies are long gone, the same lineage continues in the mushrooms we see today. Every cap and stalk carries the memory of that ancient patience, that ability to turn stone into life. As you continue walking in your mind, the forest around you shifts from the familiar to the extraordinary. The trees seem to breathe. The ground glows faintly with bioluminescent veins. Green and gold, the light is not bright but steady. A soft pulse that makes the darkness feel alive. You reach down and touch the soil, and the glow responds, rippling outward like waves across a quiet pond. This is not magic. It is chemistry, luciferin and oxygen meeting under the guidance of an enzyme called luciferase. The same reaction that lets fireflies glow on summer nights. In the fungal world, light itself is a form of communication. Scientists have found that more than 70 species of fungi can produce natural light. Some glow to attract insects that carry their spores, while others seem to shine as a form of protection, confusing the animals that might try to eat them. To witness them in darkness is to stand between two worlds, the living and the decaying, the seen and the unseen, and realize that beauty exists even in decomposition. Every spark, every shimmer, is proof that life continues its work long after death. You keep walking, the forest opens to a clearing, and before you spreads a circle of mushrooms perfectly shaped, as though drawn by a compass. For centuries people have called them fairy rings, imagining spirits dancing in the night. In truth, they are the visible edge of a single fungus expanding outward underground. Each year, the center fades and the outer rim continues to grow, forming a ring that may last for decades. It is a living geometry, a map of time traced in soil. In this quiet moment you might notice that the boundaries between myth and science are not so rigid after all. What our ancestors called magic was often the observation of patient processes beyond their understanding. To see mushrooms appear overnight, glowing and geometric, must have felt like a visitation from another realm. And in a way, it was. A reminder that the realm of life extends deeper and further than what eyes can see. Now take a slow breath. The rhythm of the forest begins to match the rhythm of your chest. You start to sense that the same slow intelligence guiding the growth of mycelium also moves within you. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought is a pulse through your own network. Your inner forest of veins and neurons and signals. You and the fungi share more than space. You share the same chemistry of existence, the same breath, the same patience, the same quiet will to grow toward light. This is where your journey truly begins. The deeper you look into the world of mushrooms, the more you discover reflections of yourself, resilience in silence, strength in softness, and connection in stillness. As you rest here, surrounded by the hum of unseen life, let your thoughts slow to the pace of roots and rain. Soon you will see that science, too, can feel like dreaming, and that every fact about fungi is not just knowledge, but a gentle invitation to belong again to the living earth. When you begin to explore the kingdom of fungi, you realize that it does not fit easily into any human category. Mushrooms are not plants, though they grow from the soil. They are not animals, though they breathe oxygen and release carbon dioxide just as we do. They are something in between, an ancient branch of life that stands quietly apart. Their cell walls are made not of cellulose like trees, but of chitin, the same material that forms the shells of insects and the armor of crustaceans. This single detail reveals how close they are to the animal world, how their chemistry mirrors ours more than it does the leaves and stems they live beside. Fungi breathe. They inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide in a rhythm that mirrors the pulse of every creature that walks or flies. When you walk through a forest, you are sharing breath with them. The air that leaves your lungs feeds the fungi, and the air they return feeds you. The exchange is silent, constant, and endless. It is a partnership older than the concept of species itself. A cycle that binds your body to the soil beneath your feet. A mushroom is only a fleeting expression of a much larger being. Beneath the surface, the real life of the fungus continues, the mycelium. These filaments stretch through roots, stones, and wood, forming webs so intricate that they rival the wiring of the human brain. Scientists studying their growth find that these networks can transmit electrical signals, pulses that flicker through their threads like messages. Some of these signals even appear to follow rhythms similar to language, with distinct pauses and frequencies. It is as if the forest carries on conversations beneath the ground, unseen but constant, spoken in voltages rather than words. The largest living organism on Earth is not a whale or a tree, but a fungus. Hidden beneath the soil of Oregon's Blue Mountains lies a single mycelial network of Armillaria, the honey fungus, stretching for nearly 4 square miles. It is estimated to be thousands of years old, its threads connecting everything that grows above it. Every mushroom you see there is only a small window into that vast and ancient creature. Imagine walking through that forest and realizing that every tree trunk, every blade of grass, every step you take is part of one body breathing beneath you. Some mushrooms glow softly in the dark. This light, called bioluminescence, is created through a reaction between luciferin and luciferase, molecules that also make fireflies sparkle at night. Over 70 known species of mushrooms can glow in green or blue hues, turning the forest into a field of stars beneath the trees. Scientists believe that this glow may attract insects that help spread their spores. But perhaps it is also a side effect of life's desire to communicate even in darkness. To see one glowing in the wild is to witness the forest's heartbeat made visible. Life shining gently in the places where no sunlight reaches. Mushrooms can appear overnight. Their growth is astonishingly rapid, fueled by the hidden energy of the mycelium waiting for just the right moment. A change in humidity, a single rainfall, a whisper of warmth, and they emerge, pushing aside soil and leaves as if called by the rhythm of the moon. To the human eye, they seem to materialize by magic. Yet each sudden appearance is the culmination of days, weeks, or months of invisible preparation. What looks like spontaneity is actually patience unfolding. Beneath the forest floor, mycelium acts as nature's internet. It connects trees of different species, allowing them to exchange nutrients and chemical signals. A mother tree can send sugars to her saplings. A dying tree can pass its remaining energy to others before falling. Through the fungi, the forest behaves as one body, sharing, warning, and healing itself. This vast communication network has been called the Wood Wide Web, a poetic phrase that captures its living unity. When you walk through the woods, remember that each root underfoot may be part of a message flowing silently below. Fungi can digest what few other organisms can. They feed on wood, on oil, even on plastic. Certain species discovered in the Amazon rainforest can consume polyurethane, a material that usually resists decay for centuries. Others can break down oil spills, transforming black sludge into fertile soil. This ability is not destruction but transformation, the constant work of turning what is broken into the foundation for new life. If humanity learns from them, perhaps one day our waste too could return harmlessly to the earth. Some mushrooms are healers. Penicillin, the antibiotic that changed medicine forever, was born from a fungus. Other species carry compounds that fight bacteria, viruses, and even cancer cells. For thousands of years, humans have brewed mushrooms into tonics and teas, calling them elixirs of longevity and strength. Modern science now confirms much of what ancient healers already sensed, that within these quiet forms are chemists of the forest, crafting molecules of protection and renewal. Each cap on a fallen log may hold medicine waiting to be understood. Mushrooms can also be deadly. Among the most beautiful are the most dangerous. The death cap, pale and unassuming, contains toxins so potent that half a cap can destroy a human liver. Its poison works silently, showing no symptoms until it is almost too late. The same kingdom that gives us antibiotics and bread also holds the power to end life. This duality is at the heart of nature's balance, creation and destruction sharing the same breath. The forest does not choose between them. It simply continues, indifferent yet harmonious. Some mushrooms can survive in places that seem impossible. In the ruins of Chernobyl, scientists discovered fungi growing amid radiation. These species contain melanin, the same pigment that colors human skin. But here it serves another purpose. It allows the fungi to absorb radiation and convert it into energy. Like photosynthesis using radiation instead of sunlight, they have turned disaster into fuel. This resilience is a reminder that life always finds a way, even in places humanity calls dead. Spores, the seeds of fungi, are among the most enduring travelers on Earth. They are light enough to float for miles on the wind, sometimes rising into the stratosphere. Protected by tough shells, they can survive ultraviolet light, freezing cold, and even the vacuum of space. In experiments, spores sent beyond Earth's atmosphere returned alive, ready to grow again. This discovery supports the idea that life could spread between planets, carried by dust or meteorites. Perhaps, somewhere far away, the descendants of Earth's fungi are already waiting to bloom in alien soil. Every breath you take contains traces of them. Billions of spores swirl invisibly through the air at every moment, settling on leaves, water, and skin. You are never separate from them. They are part of your every inhale. In a single cubic meter of air, there may be thousands of fungal spores drifting silently, linking your lungs to forests you will never visit. In this sense, you are breathing the memory of rainforests, mountains, and moss-covered valleys, each exhale part of a cycle older than time itself. When a mushroom releases its spores, it does so with elegance. Puffballs, when touched by raindrops or animals, release clouds of spores that rise like smoke. What seems like a small burst of dust is actually a storm of life. Billions of tiny seeds carried into the air. The sight of it in sunlight, that slow, shimmering breath of powder, is a moment where you can see renewal itself happening before your eyes. Every particle carries possibility, proof that life never stops searching for a new beginning. Some fungi form partnerships that create entirely new organisms. Lichens, the colorful crusts that cling to rocks and tree bark, are born when fungi bond with algae. The fungus provides shelter and moisture, while the algae provide food through photosynthesis. Together, they thrive in places where neither could survive alone: deserts, cliffs, even the frozen Antarctic. This quiet collaboration turns bare stone into soil, preparing the world for everything that grows after. Fungi were among the first life forms to colonize land. Long before plants took root, they crept across ancient shores, breaking down rock and creating the first thin layers of earth. Without them, the planet would have remained barren, locked in silence. Their work was invisible, but every forest and meadow today is built on their foundation. When you look at the green world, you are looking at their legacy. Some fungi act as builders even now. Mycelium can be grown into bricks, insulation, and even leather-like materials. These creations are strong, lightweight, and biodegradable, offering an alternative to plastics and cement. Designers envision a future where buildings are grown rather than constructed. Walls made of living fibers that can one day return safely to the soil. Fungi teach us that sustainability does not have to be invented. It has always existed in nature's quiet design. Each of these truths, while simple, forms a thread in the greater tapestry of life. Together they reveal a picture of the world where nothing stands alone. The mushroom rising through the moss, the tree beside it, the human who stops to admire it, all are connected through breath, through chemistry, through time. The next time you see a mushroom, pause for a moment. Imagine the vastness beneath your feet, the stories hidden in silence, and the ancient intelligence that keeps the world alive without ever needing to speak. The power of fungi extends beyond the forest. In laboratories around the world, scientists have discovered that certain mushrooms can transform waste into usable energy. Some species metabolize hydrocarbons, converting oil residues into harmless compounds. Others break down agricultural byproducts into rich organic matter that can fertilize crops. These natural processes, called mycoremediation and mycofiltration, are now being explored as living tools for environmental restoration. Where human industry leaves scars, fungi arrive as quiet healers, weaving the broken ground back into wholeness. Mushrooms can store carbon underground for centuries, when trees and plants send sugars into the soil through their roots. Fungi capture and lock much of this carbon inside their networks. Over time, that carbon becomes part of stable soil, sealed away from the atmosphere. In this way, fungi act as a planetary memory, holding the breath of forests long after leaves have fallen. In the age of climate change, their role as carbon keepers may be one of the quietest yet most powerful forces preserving Earth's balance. The variety of mushrooms is beyond imagination. Scientists estimate that there may be more than 5 million species of fungi on Earth. Though only a small fraction have been described, they exist in every environment, from tropical rainforests to frozen tundras. From deep caves to mountaintops. Some live underwater, some inside plants, and some within the bodies of animals. There are fungi that glow green, others that bleed red, some shaped like coral, and others that resemble delicate stars. Each one has adapted to its world with a precision that reveals nature's endless creativity. Mushrooms are architects of decay. And through decay, they build life. When a tree falls, it does not rot on its own. Mycelium infiltrates its wood, releasing enzymes that dissolve complex molecules into simple ones that plants can use again. This process takes time, measured not in days but in seasons and years. Yet it is through this slowness that the forest renews itself. Every flower, every blade of grass that rises after rain is fed by what fungi have returned to the earth. Some fungi hunt, hidden in the soil, or species that weave microscopic traps for tiny worms called nematodes. These fungi build rings or sticky nets that tighten when touched, ensnaring their prey. Once caught, the fungus pierces the worm's body and absorbs its nutrients. To think of fungi as predators may seem strange, but it reminds us that every form of life, no matter how still it appears, carries its own strategies for survival. Even beneath our feet, entire dramas unfold where life feeds life in endless exchange. Certain mushrooms can withstand freezing solid. In winter forests, species like the velvet shank and the snow mushroom continue to fruit even under ice. Their secret lies in natural antifreeze compounds that protect their cells from damage. Some fungi can even survive complete desiccation, drying to brittle husks only to revive when touched by moisture. Their endurance shows a principle written throughout nature: that strength is not always about resistance, but about flexibility, the ability to pause, to wait, and to return when the world is ready again. Fungi remember. Experiments have shown that mycelium exposed to changes in temperature or nutrients can adjust its growth the next time it encounters those conditions, responding faster and more efficiently. Though it has no brain or neurons, the network holds patterns of experience, a kind of biological memory written in its threads. This quiet intelligence allows fungi to adapt to complex environments, to solve problems of resource flow, and to thrive in balance with their surroundings. It is a reminder that awareness may exist in many forms, some so subtle that we mistake them for silence. Some mushrooms mimic the scents of the living and the dead. Stinkhorn fungi release odors identical to rotting meat, attracting flies and beetles that unknowingly carry away their spores. Others smell like fruit, spices, or sugar, luring animals that dig them up and spread their seeds. The chemistry of scent becomes their language, a bridge between species, transforming decay into communication. For us, it may seem repulsive or delightful, but for the fungus, it is strategy. Every fragrance is purpose. The truffle, buried deep beneath the soil, produces an aroma so irresistible that animals, and humans, search for it tirelessly. Pigs once led truffle hunters through forests, drawn by the same pheromone-like compounds that attract mates in the wild. Today, trained dogs perform the same task. Each unearthed truffle is a fragment of an ancient dialogue between fungi and mammals, a partnership sustained by scent and hunger. The reward for both is renewal. The animal eats, the fungus spreads, and the cycle continues. Fungi also shape weather. Spores rising from the ground can seed clouds, becoming the nuclei around which raindrops form. In this way, forests may help call rain from the sky. The breath of the woods rises as invisible mist, travels through the air, and returns as life-giving water. Every storm may carry within it the fingerprints of mushrooms, unseen but essential, ensuring that rivers flow and ecosystems remain alive. It is the earth breathing through its smallest architects. Some fungi live within plants, forming invisible alliances that protect them. Endophytic fungi inhabit the spaces between plant cells, strengthening their hosts against drought, disease, and pests. These microscopic guardians share molecules that improve the plant's resilience, making survival possible in harsh conditions. In exchange, they receive sugars from photosynthesis. It is another form of symbiosis, a wordless contract written in chemistry, teaching us that cooperation, not competition, is often the foundation of survival. Mushrooms can be artists of color. For centuries, people have used them to dye cloth, drawing shades of gold, crimson, green, and indigo from their pigments. Each species offers its own palette, subtle and shifting with light. Wearing a fabric dyed by fungi was once seen as carrying a piece of the forest's soul. A reminder that beauty can come from decay as easily as from bloom. Even now, artisans revive this practice, finding in mushrooms a sustainable source of color more vivid than any artificial dye. Certain mushrooms hold legends within them. In Siberia, shamans used the red-capped Amanita muscaria to enter trance states, believing its vivid patterns were symbols of the spirit world. In Mesoamerica, ancient civilizations called sacred mushrooms the flesh of the gods, using them in ceremonies to glimpse the divine. These rituals were not acts of escape but of connection, attempts to listen to the voice of nature through its most mysterious forms. Whether sacred or scientific, mushrooms have always drawn humanity toward wonder. The same networks that feed forests may one day sustain cities. Scientists now grow mycelium as an alternative to plastic packaging. Biodegradable and renewable, when shaped into molds, it forms materials strong enough to protect fragile objects yet gentle enough to return to the earth. Furniture, insulation, even entire buildings have been made this way. Imagine a future where homes breathe and biodegrade naturally, where construction and decay exist in balance. That vision begins with fungi. When fire sweeps through a forest, it is not the end. Certain mushrooms wait for that moment. Their spores germinate only after intense heat, turning ash into fertile ground. Within weeks of devastation, blackened soil sprouts with morels, honeycombed caps rising from the ruins. These fungi are the first responders of the ecosystem, transforming loss into renewal. Their emergence after fire is a promise that healing always follows destruction. That life story never stops mid-sentence. Fungi teach cooperation to trees. Through the mycorrhizal web, old trees send carbon and nutrients to younger ones, helping them survive the shade. Some scientists call these elder giants mother trees. When they die, their stored resources flow outward into the network, sustaining others. The forest behaves like a single living family, each member contributing to the health of the whole. Without fungi, these exchanges would cease, and the silence beneath the soil would spread upward into lifeless air. When you breathe in a forest, you inhale molecules shaped by fungi. The earthy scent after rain, called petrichor, comes partly from compounds they release. That familiar smell of freshness is the signature of renewal. It is the perfume of transformation. The moment when the world announces that everything fallen will rise again. You are not just smelling decay, you are smelling creation in progress. Even in the depths of the ocean, fungi thrive. They live within corals, in sediments, and on the shells of sea creatures. Marine fungi help recycle nutrients and protect reefs from disease. They connect the undersea world to the same cycles of renewal found on land, extending the web of life into salt and current. Wherever there is darkness, moisture, and the faintest trace of organic matter, fungi find a way to belong. Mushrooms appear fragile, but some are stronger than steel when measured by weight. Mycelium composites interlock so tightly that they form materials harder than metal yet lighter than wood. Engineers study these structures to design sustainable replacements for concrete and plastic. The future may be built from what once grew unnoticed beneath our feet. What looks soft is in truth resilient. What seems temporary holds the blueprint for endurance. Each of these discoveries reveals that the fungal kingdom is not marginal, but central. Every forest, every drop of rain, every breath of air carries their signature. They are the quiet architects of the planet, shaping the flow of energy and matter in ways we are only beginning to understand. When you step back and look at the whole pattern, the glow, the decay, the communication, the resilience, it becomes clear that mushrooms are not just organisms. They are an expression of the planet's ability to recycle, to adapt, and to remember. In the silence of the forest, the presence of fungi is constant, even when invisible. Beneath every tree trunk, every stone, and every step you take, billions of filaments work quietly, unseen yet indispensable. They are the alchemists of the earth, transforming the remains of the past into the raw material of tomorrow. Without them, fallen leaves would pile endlessly, and the forest floor would suffocate beneath its own memory. Fungi make space for renewal. They turn endings into beginnings. Mushrooms are extraordinary engineers. They can direct their growth towards sources of nutrients, avoid toxins, and adapt their structure to reach distant food. When researchers placed mycelium in mazes designed to mimic cities, the fungi grew networks that mirrored the efficiency of human transport systems. They found the shortest and most effective paths between resources, adjusting constantly to new conditions. It was as if intelligence itself was being expressed through the rhythm of growth. These living maps reveal that wisdom can exist without thought, a geometry of life that solves problems through presence rather than planning. Some fungi inhabit places where life seems impossible. In deserts, endolithic fungi live inside rocks, hidden from scorching sunlight. In Antarctica, they cling to quartz, surviving on faint traces of light that filter through stone. Their slow, deliberate existence challenges our ideas of what survival means. They remind us that persistence is not about dominance, but endurance, the quiet art of remaining when everything else withdraws. Fungi can even change the chemistry of minerals. Through their acids, they dissolve rock, releasing nutrients like calcium and magnesium that feed future ecosystems. This process is so slow that it unfolds over centuries. Yet without it, mountains would never turn to fertile ground. When you see a meadow in bloom, you are witnessing the end result of ancient fungal labor. Long before a single seed took root, invisible threads were carving soil from stone. Some mushrooms are artists of illusion. Certain species change color when touched, bruising blue or green in response to air. Others ooze bright red droplets that look like blood. These pigments are not just for beauty, they serve chemical purposes: defense, communication, or moisture control. But to us, they appear as moments of wonder, signs that nature still holds tricks beyond explanation. To find one glowing under a beam of light, bruised in blue or bleeding scarlet, is to see the earth experimenting with its own imagination. There are mushrooms that sing in frequencies too high for human ears. In laboratories, sensitive microphones have detected faint clicking sounds as mushrooms grow, tiny bursts of ultrasonic vibrations. Some scientists believe these clicks correspond to changes in water pressure or nutrient flow. Others think they may represent rhythmic coordination within the mycelium. Whatever the cause, the idea that a mushroom might have a rhythm of sound hidden in its tissues makes the forest feel alive in a new way, a choir of growth we simply cannot hear. Fungi play a crucial role in agriculture. Mycorrhizal networks increase the yield of crops by expanding root reach and improving water absorption. Fields inoculated with fungal partners require less fertilizer and resist drought better. Farmers are learning to cultivate not only plants, but relationships, nurturing the symbiosis that has existed since the first roots touched the ground. It is a return to an ancient partnership, where cooperation replaces extraction, and growth comes from giving as much as taking. In the animal kingdom, fungi have complex relationships too. Some insects, like leafcutter ants, farm fungi deliberately, feeding them cut leaves and harvesting the soft fungal tissue to eat. Termites build towering mounds to regulate temperature and humidity for their fungal gardens. These small civilizations mirror our own, built upon collaboration with another species. Fungi, it seems, are architects not only of ecosystems but of behavior, shaping the patterns of life in ways we are only beginning to recognize. There are fungi that can influence the weather, heal the sick, and even alter consciousness. The psilocybin mushrooms, long used in sacred rituals, contain compounds that can profoundly shift human perception. Modern research now explores their potential to treat depression, anxiety, and addiction, what ancient shamans understood intuitively. Science is now confirming that fungi hold keys not just to ecological health, but to the inner landscapes of the mind. They connect body and consciousness the way mycelium connects trees, through pathways of chemistry and empathy. The texture of a mushroom reveals its environment. Some grow leathery in arid regions, others gelatinous in damp forests, each adapting to the rhythm of its home. Their surfaces may repel water or absorb it, reflecting an elegant engineering evolved through patience. To touch a mushroom is to feel the wisdom of adaptation, a softness that hides precision. Even the most delicate cap has endured wind, water, and time to exist exactly where it stands. Fungi are among the few organisms that can consume radiation. In places contaminated by nuclear accidents, scientists have found dark-colored fungi thriving on reactor walls. These species use melanin to convert radiation into energy, a process called radiosynthesis. Where humans flee, they feed. Their existence offers hope for cleaning environments poisoned by our mistakes, and for protecting future explorers on distant planets bathed in cosmic rays. They are the quiet proof that life not only survives catastrophe but transforms it into strength. The diversity of fungal shapes is an art form in itself. Coral fungi rise in branching patterns like underwater reefs. Birds' nest fungi cradle tiny spore capsules that look like eggs. Puffballs release smoke like clouds when pressed. Each design is a masterpiece of function disguised as beauty. The forest is full of these sculptures, fleeting as breath, appearing after rain and fading before dawn. Yet in their brief lives, they display the precision of nature's infinite creativity. Fungi may one day help humans live beyond Earth. Mycelium can be cultivated into habitats strong enough to withstand radiation and temperature extremes. Experiments aboard the International Space Station show that fungi can grow in microgravity, adapting easily to cosmic conditions. Scientists imagine future colonies built not from metal but from living materials, domes of mycelium that self-repair and recycle waste. In this vision, humanity's expansion into the stars mirrors the ancient fungal journey that once colonized land. We will not just bring life to other planets, we will bring the same threads that have always woven it together. Some fungi shape time itself by their patience. A spore can wait dormant for decades before finding the right conditions to awaken. When it finally does, it grows as if no time has passed. In this patience lies a lesson for us, that life is not measured in speed but in readiness. The world does not rush to grow, it waits for harmony between place, time, and need. Mushrooms remind us that everything unfolds when it must, not before. Mushrooms help plants thrive in poor soil by gathering nutrients from distant places. They extend their filaments through gravel, sand, or clay, drawing trace minerals and delivering them to roots that could never reach so far on their own. In exchange, the plants feed them sugars made from sunlight. Together they create abundance where there should be none. It is an economy of generosity, one that sustains every forest, field, and garden on Earth. Even decay has its own rhythm under the care of fungi. A fallen tree is not death but transformation in progress. Within weeks of touching the ground, it becomes a city of life, mycelium spreading, beetles tunneling, moss gathering moisture. By the time it disappears entirely, hundreds of species have fed upon it, grown within it, and carried its nutrients onward. The work of fungi ensures that nothing in nature is wasted. Every loss feeds another beginning. In some cultures, mushrooms are seen as symbols of immortality because they can spring from lifeless matter. Ancient poets called them the flowers of the underworld, blooms born from decay. Yet instead of representing death, they signify the cycle that binds all living things. When you look at a mushroom rising from fallen leaves, you are seeing resurrection written in living form. Each discovery deepens the same truth. Fungi are not separate from life, they are life, expressed in its most interconnected form. Their patience sustains forests, their chemistry heals bodies, and their resilience renews the earth itself. In every breath, every bite of food, every heartbeat, there is a trace of their work. The invisible kingdom of mushrooms may be silent, but it is the silence that holds the world together. Some of the oldest fossils ever found on Earth belong to fungi. In the ancient rocks of the Canadian Arctic, scientists discovered delicate networks of filaments almost a billion years old. These ancient threads existed long before trees, flowers, or animals, thriving in shallow seas and along barren shores. They may have been among the first organisms to shape solid ground, breaking down minerals and building soil where life could take root. Each time you look at a mushroom rising from the earth, you are witnessing a lineage that stretches back to the dawn of complexity itself. The forest beneath your feet is a descendant of their original patience. The way fungi reproduce is both intricate and beautiful. Some release clouds of spores into the air, trusting the wind to carry them to fertile soil. Others rely on rain, insects, or even animals. Certain species can launch spores with explosive force, catapulting them at speeds faster than a bullet to clear the shadow of their parent. One tiny fungus called Pilobolus can propel its spores more than 2 meters away. An extraordinary feat for something smaller than a grain of sand. Every release is a miniature act of faith, a declaration that life, no matter how fragile, will find a way to continue. Fungi are masters of transformation not only in nature but also in culture. They leaven bread, ferment wine, and shape flavors that define human civilization. Every loaf that rises and every glass of beer that foams owes its existence to yeast, a single-celled relative of mushrooms. These microscopic companions have worked beside humanity since the dawn of agriculture, turning sweetness into sustenance. Without them, the warmth of bread and the celebration of wine would not exist. They are reminders that even the smallest organisms can create joy that spans generations. The connection between fungi and human creativity runs deeper still. Artists have long been inspired by their shapes, colors, and mysteries. From the fairy tale illustrations of red-capped toadstools to modern architecture modeled after branching mycelium. Mushrooms have shaped both imagination and design. They appear in poetry, painting, and even music as symbols of wonder and renewal. Their presence in art is not coincidence. It reflects our unconscious recognition that they represent the unity of life, the unseen pattern connecting all things. Some mushrooms contain natural antibiotics that protect them from bacteria and viruses. These compounds are now studied for potential use in human medicine. Others produce chemicals that boost immunity, reduce inflammation, or protect nerve cells. Among them, the lion's mane mushroom stands out for its ability to stimulate the growth of neurons. In animals, it has been shown to help repair nerve damage, offering a glimpse into future treatments for neurodegenerative diseases. Each discovery reminds us that the forest's pharmacy is vast. Its shelves hidden beneath moss and wood, waiting to be explored with respect and curiosity. In the aftermath of disasters, fungi are often the first to return. After volcanic eruptions, floods, or fires, they emerge from ash and mud, digesting the debris of destruction. Their enzymes break down toxins, clearing the way for moss, ferns, and eventually trees. In this sense, fungi are the healers of the planet, the first responders to catastrophe. They turn chaos into order, waste into soil, and silence into the whisper of new life. When the world seems broken beyond repair, it is the unseen threads of fungi that begin the work of healing. Even light itself is part of their story. Some mushrooms glow for weeks in complete darkness, their bioluminescent pulse steady and soft. The chemistry that allows them to shine is the same that powers fireflies and deep-sea creatures. This glow may attract insects, but it also seems to serve another purpose, a quiet signal to the forest. A reminder that decay is not the end but another form of radiance. When you walk through a forest at night and see the faint green shimmer of glowing fungi, it feels as though the earth itself is exhaling light. Fungi have evolved in symphony with every living thing. Coral reefs host marine fungi that stabilize fragile ecosystems underwater. Grasses depend on fungal partners to survive drought and poor soil. Even your own body carries microscopic fungi as part of its microbiome, aiding digestion and protecting against infection. The relationship between humans and fungi is as old as life itself. Woven through every layer of our existence, they are not strangers to us, they are companions we have always known. Though often without noticing, fungi shape the atmosphere itself. As their spores rise into the air, they influence how clouds form and where rain falls. In the grand cycle of weather, they serve as tiny architects of balance, ensuring that water returns to the land. The same spores that drift through your breath may one day become the seed of a storm. In this way, fungi bind earth and sky, joining the soil's darkness to the purity of rain. There are mushrooms so small that they can rest on the tip of a needle and others so large they weigh more than a human. The smallest thrive unnoticed on damp bark, their caps no wider than a grain of sand. The largest puffballs can grow as wide as a child's head and release trillions of spores at once. Between these extremes lies a spectrum of design and adaptation unmatched in the natural world. To walk through a forest after rain is to wander through a gallery of shapes and colors, domes, fans, feathers, and spires, each one a sculpture built by time and chemistry. Fungi also teach us humility. They remind us that intelligence and awareness are not human inventions but qualities the universe expresses through countless forms. The ability of mycelium to sense, respond, and adapt is a form of mind without brain, awareness without ego. When you realize this, the distinction between human and nature softens. You see that the same creative pulse running through the mushroom's network runs through your thoughts, your memories, and your dreams. Both are expressions of the same living pattern, the earth thinking through matter. Even decay can be luminous under their care. When fungi decompose fallen wood, they release nutrients that fuel generations of life yet to come. They are time made visible, turning what was once living into the promise of what will be. To touch the cool underside of a mushroom cap is to feel centuries of evolution condensed into a single form. Delicate yet eternal. Without fungi, life on Earth would collapse. Trees could not grow, soil would erode, and the air would lose its balance. Every ecosystem, from tundra to rainforest, relies on their unseen labor. They are the quiet foundation on which every green and breathing thing depends. To understand fungi is to understand that nature's strength lies not in noise or motion, but in the invisible persistence of connection. Fungi are the custodians of cycles. They close the loop between birth and decay, between death and regeneration. They remind us that every ending is also a beginning, that what falls to the ground today will rise again in another form. This lesson echoes through every forest, every garden, every cell of our bodies. When you breathe, when you sleep, when you dream, you are part of their rhythm. Every fact about fungi carries the same quiet revelation, that nothing in nature stands alone. Each mushroom, glowing softly in darkness, is a small beacon of connection, a reminder that even in decay there is creation, and even in silence there is song. They teach that survival is not about struggle but harmony, not about dominance but balance. Beneath the soil, the universe is speaking in threads of light and chemistry. And what it says is simple: everything is one. And so the foundation is set. The world of mushrooms, vast and intricate, stretches through time and space like a second skin for the earth. To walk upon it is to walk upon history, memory, and renewal all at once. Every forest, every breath, every moment of stillness hums with their presence. As we move deeper into their world, the boundary between fact and wonder begins to fade, revealing that the greatest truths of life are often whispered by what we cannot see. When you begin to look deeper into the world of fungi, you start to sense a pattern that goes beyond the surface of biology. The forest, the air, even the stones themselves seem woven into one continuous conversation, and the mycelium is its language. This hidden dialogue stretches not only through soil but through time, connecting past and present, death and renewal. In every corner of the world, wherever moisture and darkness exist, fungi whisper the same message, that nothing is ever truly separate. If you could follow a single thread of mycelium through the ground, you would travel through miniature worlds unseen by the human eye. You would cross from one root to another, through tunnels of tiny insects and chambers of mineral crystals. The thread would twist around stones and climb upward through fallen leaves, carrying with it a slow, steady current of life. The mycelium is not just a network of nourishment. It is a living memory, recording the story of the forest in electric pulses and chemical signatures. Through it, the earth keeps its own diary, written not in words but in the language of flow. Each pulse through the mycelial threads carries meaning. When a tree is wounded, it releases signals into its roots. Fungi detect these changes and spread the alarm through their web, reaching neighboring trees that respond by strengthening their defenses. In this way, entire groves prepare for threats long before they arrive. The forest becomes a single being, thinking in slow motion. Its intelligence is collective, its thoughts measured in centuries. When you walk among these trees, you are walking through a consciousness spread out beneath your feet, and every step you take is heard. Scientists once believed that evolution favored only competition, that nature was a battlefield of survival. Yet fungi reveal a different story, one built upon cooperation. They show that life flourishes not through isolation but through sharing. The success of a forest lies not in the strength of its tallest tree but in the generosity of the network below. This truth resonates far beyond biology. It is a principle of existence itself. The universe, from galaxies to synapses, thrives through connection. If you hold a piece of wood beginning to decay, you hold a world in transition. Beneath your fingertips, fungi are performing the slow chemistry of resurrection. Enzymes break down the complex structures of lignin and cellulose, freeing nutrients that will nourish new roots. Even as the surface softens and crumbles, it is being rebuilt from within. You can almost feel the pulse of transformation, the whisper of change happening faster than time seems to move. What we call decay is simply a shift in direction, a quiet act of generosity that allows life to continue. Every mushroom that rises from the ground carries within it the memory of this transformation. Its delicate body is a bridge between the hidden and the visible, between the world beneath the soil and the air above it. Some appear for only a few days, others for a single night. Yet in that brief time they complete an ancient purpose: to release spores, to spread life, to remind the forest that renewal is constant. Their short existence mirrors our own, and in their impermanence, there is peace. Fungi also teach us about the resilience of form. Some species can survive complete desiccation, reducing themselves to dry, fragile remnants that seem lifeless. Then, with the touch of rain, they awaken, swelling back into vitality as if no time had passed. This ability to pause life, to rest within stillness, is not a weakness but a profound strength. It is the patience of the universe written into biology. It shows that rest is not the absence of life, but part of its rhythm. Deep beneath ancient forests, the largest mycelial networks stretch like continents. Each thread of hyphae branches endlessly, creating a structure that is at once chaotic and perfectly ordered. Scientists studying their growth patterns have discovered mathematical principles within them, fractal geometries that repeat from the smallest scales to the largest. The pattern of a single strand mirrors that of the entire web. Just as the structure of a galaxy echoes the design of an atom, fungi remind us that nature repeats its wisdom everywhere, that the same design guiding a mushroom's growth may guide the stars. Some fungi display a power that feels almost supernatural. In tropical forests, cordyceps fungi infect insects, taking control of their bodies. They guide their hosts to climb to the perfect height before bursting forth to release spores that will continue the cycle. It is both haunting and extraordinary, a reminder that life's intelligence can manifest in forms that challenge our understanding of control. Even this eerie relationship has purpose. It keeps insect populations balanced, ensuring the health of the ecosystem. Nothing in nature acts alone. Even the strange serves the harmony of the whole. The diversity of fungi is so vast that we have barely begun to understand it. Each new species discovered reveals another function, another relationship, another lesson. Some produce compounds that can break down petroleum. Others emit gases that influence the weather. A few may even shape the climate by helping forests store carbon deep underground. Each one is a thread in the tapestry of balance. A reminder that the planet's systems depend on cooperation across kingdoms of life. The bioluminescent mushrooms of the night forest are perhaps the most poetic example of this balance. Their glow is soft, green, and eternal in its patience. To see them scattered among roots and moss is to witness starlight return to earth. This light serves as both signal and protection, attracting small insects that spread spores while deterring others that might feed upon them. It is communication written in radiance, beauty born from decay. In this way, the forest becomes its own night sky, the soil its constellation. There is a theory that fungi may have helped spark the evolution of life's complexity. By breaking down tough organic matter and releasing nutrients, early fungi enriched the environment for other organisms. Their chemistry, refined over millions of years, allowed the first plants to grow tall, to spread leaves, to capture light. Without fungi, the earth might have remained a barren sphere of stone and water. They were the invisible architects of fertility, laying the groundwork for all that followed. Mycelium can also serve as a living archive of the environments it inhabits. Within its filaments are traces of every substance it touches, minerals, toxins, even DNA. Scientists can study these threads to understand the history of ecosystems, to trace pollution, or to monitor the spread of species. The ground beneath us is therefore not only alive but aware, holding the memory of what has passed and translating it into what will grow next. The soil itself becomes a kind of consciousness, remembering in texture and chemistry what words could never hold. If you listen carefully in this imagined forest, you might begin to sense that the boundary between your own body and the earth is dissolving. The rhythm of your heartbeat echoes the pulse of the mycelium. The air that leaves your lungs feeds the roots beneath you. Each inhale and exhale is part of a shared breath between you and the planet. This awareness is not fantasy, it is biology woven with poetry. The science of fungi teaches not just how life works, but what it means to belong. As you linger in this realization, notice the shift in perspective that fungi offer. They invite you to see life not as a pyramid with humans at the top, but as a web of equal threads, each one vital to the whole. The mushroom in the shadow, the tree reaching for sunlight, and the mind that observes them are all expressions of the same pattern. The divisions we create, between species, between body and soul, between life and death, blur in the quiet patience of the fungal world. In their silence lies the truth that the universe has no hierarchy, only harmony. Fungi teach that creation and decay are not opposites, but partners. Every fall of a leaf, every fading breath, every ending is simply an offering to the cycle. In that exchange lies the beauty of existence, a rhythm so steady and gentle that it carries all of life forward. When you see a mushroom rising from a fallen log, you are witnessing the quiet persistence of this rhythm, the universe practicing balance in its most graceful form. The deeper you go into the world of fungi, the more it begins to feel like exploring a hidden map of life itself. Every thread you follow leads to another, and before long you realize there is no true beginning or end, only continuity. Fungi do not move through time the way we do. Their sense of existence is circular, always returning, always merging what was with what will be. When they digest a fallen tree, they are not ending its life but transforming it into energy for something else. In that transformation lies a philosophy older than thought, that nothing is wasted, and nothing truly disappears. If you could slow down time enough to see it, you would witness the forest breathe in slow motion. Raindrops sink into the soil, dissolving minerals, awakening dormant spores. Threads of mycelium extend through dark tunnels, sensing the chemistry of their surroundings. They grow toward what they need, wrapping around roots, binding stones, stitching together life at its smallest scales. Their movement is deliberate, measured, almost meditative. This is how the planet heals itself, not through sudden miracles, but through countless tiny acts of balance performed by invisible architects. Scientists have discovered that mycelial networks can transport not just nutrients, but information. In laboratory experiments, electrical signals have been recorded moving through fungal threads in rhythmic bursts, changing speed and pattern as conditions shift. These signals resemble the firing of neurons, suggesting that fungi process their environment in a way that mirrors thought. While it may not be consciousness as we know it, it is awareness, a sensitivity to the world, an ability to respond, remember, and adapt. To understand fungi is to understand that intelligence is not limited to brains. It can live in any form that listens and responds to its surroundings. Through their chemical symphonies, fungi mediate the relationships of entire ecosystems. A tree shaded from sunlight receives sugar from a neighbor bathed in light, the gift carried through fungal filaments. In return, it sends minerals drawn from deeper soil. Across these exchanges, the forest maintains equilibrium, ensuring that no life grows too fast or fades too soon. There is wisdom in this sharing, the wisdom of restraint, of knowing that balance sustains far longer than dominance. If humanity were to follow the same pattern, we too might learn to live within the rhythms that keep the earth alive. In the ruins of human creation, fungi continue their quiet work. Old books, forgotten paintings, even spacecraft components have been found hosting fungal life. Wherever organic matter exists, they arrive, explorers without fear of boundaries. Their spores have been discovered on the walls of ancient tombs, thriving inside sealed environments untouched for centuries. It is as though they carry the blueprint of endurance within them, a silent vow that life will always return. The patience of fungi extends far beyond human memory. Their patience also extends into partnership. When a seed lands on rocky ground, it cannot survive alone. Fungi intertwine with its roots, feeding it until it can reach the light. Without this companionship, the seed would wither. With it, a forest is born. This pattern repeats in every ecosystem on Earth, fungi supporting plants, which in turn support animals, which nourish the soil again. Life does not move upward in a ladder, it moves outward in circles. And at the center of those circles, the fungi are always waiting. There are forests that hum faintly with invisible energy, places where mycelium has been growing undisturbed for centuries. Beneath these forests lie vast archives of communication, threads carrying the chemical memory of every generation of trees that lived and fell. A sapling sprouting today may be fed by nutrients from ancestors hundreds of years old, their energy preserved and passed forward through fungal care. If you listen in the stillness of such a place, you can almost hear the low murmur of continuity, a song without sound that the earth sings to itself. Some fungi form partnerships so intricate that they merge completely with their hosts. In certain plants, fungal cells live inside roots, exchanging molecules directly with plant cells, the two so interwoven that they function as one organism. In lichens, The union between fungus and algae creates a new life form entirely, capable of colonizing bare rock and surviving in extremes of heat, cold, and radiation. Each lichen on a mountainside is a story of cooperation made visible, a small emblem of the truth that survival is a shared endeavor. Fungi also connect the microscopic to the cosmic. The same chemical structures that give them resilience, chitin, melanin, and complex enzymes, are found in the earliest biological materials believed to have arrived on Earth from space. Some scientists propose that spores, capable of enduring the vacuum and radiation of the cosmos, may have played a role in carrying life between worlds. It is a humbling idea that the same organisms softening wood on a forest floor may share ancestry with the first living matter that seeded our planet. The cycle of decay and rebirth could be a universal rhythm, echoing through the stars. Even in death, fungi are generous. When a mushroom completes its life, it collapses softly into the earth, its body feeding the very network that gave it birth. Nothing is wasted, not even its form. Spores released into the air find new homes. Enzymes return to the soil, and the energy that once sustained it flows onward. The concept of loss does not exist in this kingdom. Every ending is an offering. Every dissolution is a continuation of the pattern. Fungi reveal the deep humility of nature. They do not seek to dominate or compete. They thrive by connecting, by dissolving barriers rather than building them. Their method of growth, spreading gently, branching outward, mirrors the way rivers flow. Neurons connect, and galaxies spiral. Every system that endures seems to follow this quiet design. What we call fragility is often simply flexibility, the strength that bends without breaking. Fungi have known this truth since before time could be measured. In certain rainforests, entire nights glow with faint green light from fungal colonies that spread across fallen logs. These radiant networks are alive with microscopic motion, spores drifting, threads extending, insects landing briefly before moving on. The glow seems to pulse with the breath of the forest, a heartbeat visible in color. When you see it, something inside you slows. It is as if the earth is whispering through light that it is still alive, still healing, still remembering every cycle that came before. Scientists once grew fungal cultures in complete silence to measure how they responded to sound vibrations. To their surprise, the fungi grew faster when exposed to gentle frequencies around 432 Hz, the same tone often used in meditation music. This discovery suggests that even at the cellular level, life resonates with harmony. The vibration of calm seems to nourish all living systems, human and fungal alike. Perhaps it is not the sound itself but the stillness behind it that they recognize. A reminder that balance is the most natural state of all. Some fungi possess properties that challenge our understanding of physics. The speed at which spores are launched from certain species defies conventional limits. Accelerated by microscopic fluid pressures that build within fractions of a second. These mechanisms are so efficient that engineers study them to design miniature propulsion systems. Even in the smallest corner of their existence, fungi display the universe's genius for elegance, the art of achieving complexity through simplicity. When viewed under a microscope, the architecture of mycelium resembles galaxies photographed by telescopes. Spirals, clusters, and filaments stretch outward in luminous webs, forming patterns indistinguishable from the cosmic scale. It is as though the design of the universe repeats itself endlessly, from the veins of a mushroom to the fabric of the stars. Looking at these mirrored structures, one begins to feel that life is not random but harmonious. That everything, from fungus to human thought to nebula, is part of one unfolding geometry. The forest holds these lessons in perfect silence. Beneath your feet, beneath the roots and the moss, the earth's oldest intelligence hums quietly. It does not demand recognition, and yet it shapes the world more profoundly than any other force. Fungi do not ask to be seen, yet nothing thrives without them. They are the caretakers of balance, the keepers of the unseen world. To walk among them with awareness is to remember your own place in the pattern, small, necessary, and infinitely connected. Imagine standing in a clearing after heavy rain. The scent of wet soil rises around you, rich and deep, carrying with it the breath of millions of living things. Beneath your boots, the earth is not solid but woven, a tapestry of mycelium stretching in all directions. It is as though the planet is covered in invisible veins, each one pulsing with slow, deliberate life. You feel a sense of quiet awe, realizing that this hidden network is what allows everything above to exist. Trees, grass, insects, animals, even you, all depend on this ancient web that never sleeps. The forest floor is a living skin. Each inch contains thousands of fungal connections, binding root to root, carrying water, sharing minerals, balancing pH, and softening the ground. In dry seasons, the fungi hold moisture like a sponge, keeping plants alive when rain refuses to fall. In floods, they drain excess water, stabilizing the soil. They are the immune system of the landscape, constantly adjusting, repairing, and protecting. When we speak of ecosystems, we often forget that the most vital organs lie underground, unseen but essential. In the heart of tropical forests, some fungi form symbiotic relationships so intricate they border on the miraculous. Certain orchids, for example, cannot germinate without fungal help. Their seeds are almost weightless, containing no food of their own. They drift through the air, landing by chance on the forest floor. When they do, a fungus enters the seed, feeding it until it can grow roots and leaves. Without this invisible partnership, no orchid would ever bloom. What appears delicate and rare above ground is sustained by strength and generosity below. The same generosity extends to entire forests. When a great tree dies, its remaining energy flows downward into the mycelium. Nutrients are absorbed, redistributed, and carried to younger trees nearby. In this way, death becomes a final act of giving. The old nourish the new, and the cycle continues without interruption. It is a model of perfect sustainability, an ecosystem powered by gratitude. Fungi do not hoard, they share everything, always. There are fungi that grow only in moments of transition, appearing when conditions are neither too warm nor too cold, too wet nor too dry. These species act as the planet's balance keepers, ensuring that change never happens too fast. They thrive on edges, the thin lines between seasons, the boundaries between decay and rebirth. They remind us that life does not thrive in extremes, but in the gentle middle where contrast finds harmony. Some fungi are storytellers written in color. One may turn brilliant red as it matures. Another fades from orange to ghostly white, recording the passage of time in pigment. Scientists can use these changes to measure air quality, moisture, and even pollution levels. In this way, mushrooms become the Earth's diaries, translating environmental shifts into art. The forest, through them, paints its own history. Fungi also create balance through limitation. They release spores only when conditions are perfect, not too dry, Not too humid, not too bright. This precision ensures survival with minimal waste. Nature's efficiency is absolute. Everything is timed, tuned, and connected to an unseen rhythm. The same principle flows through rivers, tides, and even heartbeats. Life does not chase time, it moves with it. When you walk deeper into the forest, you can feel how calm the world becomes in the presence of fungi. The ground feels softer, the air cooler. It is as if the network below absorbs not only nutrients but noise. Each breath you take seems slower, each thought more grounded. Perhaps this is the secret gift of the fungal kingdom, to remind us of stillness, of the deep peace that comes from connection. When you attune to that silence, you can almost feel the earth thinking through you. Fungi are also composers of scent. That rich, earthy smell after rain, the aroma that seems to clean the soul, is born from geosmin, a compound released by soil organisms, including fungi. It is a fragrance older than humanity, one that animals recognize instinctively. Camels use it to find hidden water sources, and humans breathe it as reassurance that life still thrives. Every inhalation connects you to the planet's long memory, to the first forests that ever existed. Among the most remarkable fungi are those that seem to blur the line between plant and machine. Scientists have discovered species that can conduct electricity through their networks. When paired with bioelectronic sensors, these fungi respond to light, temperature, and touch, generating signals that can be used to monitor environmental changes. Some researchers dream of creating living circuits, systems that heal themselves and communicate through fungal logic. In such a future, technology and nature might merge, with mycelium serving as both power grid and nervous system for sustainable cities. In mountain regions, fungi live in eternal partnership with mosses and lichens, transforming barren rock into soil. Over decades, they carve microscopic cracks, gathering dust and moisture, slowly building the foundations for future forests. This is patience on a cosmic scale. The work of a single fungal thread may take centuries to become visible. Yet it continues unhurried, knowing that time itself is an ally. The forest you walk through today was once a desert of stone, made fertile by these unseen sculptors. Fungi have even shaped the evolution of animals. Some scientists believe that early mammals evolved their warm-bloodedness as a defense against fungal infections during ancient climate shifts. When global temperatures fell, fungi thrived, threatening cold-blooded creatures. Only those able to generate internal warmth survived, and from them came the mammals, and eventually us. Even the human body, in its most basic nature, may owe its warmth to its relationship with fungi. Within the vast timeline of evolution, fungi occupy a role that feels almost spiritual. They are mediators between life and death, translators between matter and energy. They make the invisible visible by turning decomposition into growth. Through them, the planet breathes. Through them, the boundary between body and soil dissolves. To contemplate fungi is to glimpse the operating code of life itself, a pattern so ancient and consistent that it seems to whisper the laws of the cosmos in every cell. And yet, for all their mystery, fungi remain humble. They do not bloom in sunlight or reach for the sky. They work quietly, in darkness, content to support others. Their strength lies in anonymity, in the knowledge that true power does not need recognition. When you walk through a forest and see mushrooms scattered across the ground, you are seeing the smallest signs of a vast generosity that asks for nothing in return. If humanity has a lesson to learn from fungi, it may be this: to take only what is needed, to give freely, and to understand that growth without gratitude is decay. The fungal world is not just a system of biology, it is a philosophy written in living form. To follow its rhythm is to move with the flow of the planet itself. To find peace and patience, and to see beauty in every transformation. If you stand still long enough in the forest, you begin to sense the presence of fungi not as separate beings but as a feeling, a quiet awareness woven into every inch of the world around you. The air hums faintly, full of invisible motion. The soil beneath your feet is soft yet strong, as though it is holding you, breathing with you. Every fallen leaf, every raindrop, every beam of filtered sunlight participates in the same conversation. And the fungi are its translators. They take what dies and turn it into nourishment, ensuring that the dialogue between life and earth never ends. In this exchange there is no waste, no greed, no ownership. There is only circulation. Energy flows through fungi like thought flows through a mind, endlessly moving, rearranging, and transforming. Every breath of air, every sip of water, every bite of food you take is part of this ancient exchange. You have always been connected to the fungi. Whether you realize it or not, their molecules flow through your veins. Their carbon forms your bones. Their oxygen fills your lungs. The boundary between your body and the soil is an illusion maintained only by perspective. In the cold, dark months of winter, fungi retreat beneath the frozen earth. Yet even then, they do not sleep. Slowly, silently, they continue their work, digesting what remains of autumn's fall. Their patience defies the urgency of the surface world. When snow melts and spring returns, they emerge again, not with fanfare but with quiet certainty. This rhythm mirrors the rhythm of rest and renewal within you, the cycles of exhaustion and strength, endings and beginnings that sustain every living thing. Life does not rush toward growth, it unfolds when the time is right. Beneath ancient forests, fungi keep time differently from us. Some mycelial networks are hundreds, even thousands, of years old. They have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the migrations of species, the shifting of continents. They are archives of continuity, living memories written in the language of chemistry. In their presence, our brief human history feels small, yet also comfortingly connected to something infinite. To touch a mushroom is to touch a thread that reaches back beyond memory, into the earliest dreams of the earth. Certain fungi even connect worlds that seem separate. In the depths of the ocean, hydrothermal vents release minerals that feed colonies of deep-sea fungi. These life forms survive in complete darkness, drawing energy from the planet's heat rather than sunlight. In these quiet abysses, they mirror the role of their terrestrial cousins, transforming matter and sustaining unseen ecosystems. Life's pattern repeats itself everywhere: connection, transformation, and renewal, no matter the form or setting. The resilience of fungi also carries a message about healing. Their ability to restore damaged environments has inspired scientists to use them in bioremediation, the cleansing of polluted soil and water. Mycelium filters toxins, absorbs heavy metals, and even neutralizes oil spills. In forests where fire or chemical damage has left the ground barren, fungi are among the first to return, stitching the land back together. They show us that healing is not about erasing scars but transforming them into foundations for new life. In the laboratory, mycelium is being studied as a sustainable alternative to plastic, leather, and even cement. It grows into whatever shape it is given, forming strong, lightweight materials that biodegrade naturally when no longer needed. This merging of science and nature is not an invention but a rediscovery, an acknowledgement that the answers to humanity's greatest challenges often lie in the quiet intelligence of the earth itself. The future may not be built from concrete and steel, but from networks that breathe, adapt, and return gently to the soil. Mushrooms also remind us that beauty can emerge from decay. The richest colors in nature, the deep reds, glowing greens, and luminous blues, often appear where decomposition is at its peak. These hues are not a sign of death but of transformation, the visible spectrum of rebirth. When we learn to see beauty in these places, we begin to see the world differently. We realize that loss is not emptiness but transition, that endings hold as much color as beginnings. In certain forests at dusk, a kind of peace settles that feels sacred. The trees stand still, the light fades, and the earth exhales a mist of moisture and scent. Within that moment, fungi continue their unseen work, dissolving barriers between what was and what will be. Their silence is not absence, it is concentration. The forest's calm is built on their constant labor, and every whisper of wind carries traces of their unseen breath. You are standing, in those moments, on the skin of something alive. Some cultures believe that to find a mushroom in the wild is to receive a message from the earth, a sign of balance restored, or a reminder to listen more deeply. Whether or not that is true, it captures something essential about the way fungi communicate. They do not speak in sound or light, but through cycles of growth and decay. When they appear, it means the conditions are right. That harmony has returned. Their presence is a kind of blessing, subtle and profound. There are mushrooms that bloom in places where human eyes will never see them, miles below the surface. Inside caves, or beneath glaciers, their existence proves that life will find its way into every crevice of creation. They are patience embodied, existing simply because existence is what life does best. The universe seems to favor this persistence, quiet, steady, eternal. Some scientists have described fungi as the planet's internet. Yet this comparison only hints at their depth. The digital web connects devices, the fungal web connects life. Its signals carry not data but vitality, emotion, and history. Each pulse is a story of survival and giving. In every thread lies a record of rain and drought, of struggle and adaptation, of symbiosis and renewal. It is a web not of information but of empathy. To think of fungi is to think of unity. They show us that individuality is an illusion, that everything which breathes shares the same pulse. The same carbon that once fed a mushroom may now reside in your cells. The same water that once flowed through a mycelium may fall today as rain on your skin. The same light that nourished an ancient forest now travels through your breath. You are not separate from nature. You are one of its continuations. When you close your eyes and imagine the world beneath you, picture an endless lace of light and matter, each thread glowing softly as it connects to another. That is the mycelial network, the living foundation of the planet. Every forest, every mountain, every grain of soil is part of this vast design. Fungi are not beneath us, they are within us, surrounding us, sustaining us. They are the earth dreaming itself awake through endless renewal. And in this understanding lies peace. To know that even in stillness, life continues its patient work. To realize that every loss becomes nourishment for what comes next. To feel that you are part of that same rhythm, moving through seasons of your own. The story of fungi is not just a story of nature. It is the story of life learning how to endure with grace. Now the path ahead opens into a deeper reflection. where science becomes philosophy and observation becomes belonging. The journey through the fungal kingdom is far from over, it only leads further inward. To the understanding that the network beneath our feet mirrors the network within our hearts. You have wandered through the hidden kingdom of fungi, through glowing forests, through the soil's secret corridors, through the breath of the earth itself. Now the pace slows, the air grows warmer, the sounds of the forest begin to blur into a steady hum. Like the heartbeat of something immense and kind. This is the moment between discovery and reflection, a quiet space where knowledge softens into understanding. You have learned the science, but here you begin to feel the meaning. The story of fungi is the story of connection. It is about how life sustains itself not through strength but through relationship. Every root, every leaf, every cell that breathes owes its existence to the invisible hands of fungi weaving the world together. When you walk across the earth, you are walking across a living bridge that unites generations, species, and elements. In every patch of moss or grain of soil, a vast intelligence hums, patient, humble, and enduring. You are part of that hum. This awareness changes the way you see the world. You start to notice the delicate rhythm of exchange everywhere. When a tree drops its leaves, it is feeding the ground that once fed it. When a mushroom appears, it is not emerging from decay but from transformation. Even your own body participates in this rhythm. The breath you exhale becomes nourishment for the soil. The warmth of your skin returns to the air. And someday, long after your journey has ended, you too will become part of the quiet renewal beneath the surface. In fungi, life and death are not opposites but two halves of the same circle. It is easy to forget this in a world that moves so fast. A world that measures worth in growth and noise. But beneath all that motion lies a slower truth. The planet has its own tempo, one set by water and wind, by roots and rain, by the pulse of mycelium spreading through the dark. Fungi teach that growth without stillness is chaos, and that stillness without giving is emptiness. True balance exists between the two. In the constant cycle of taking and returning, breathing in and breathing out, existing and letting go. If you close your eyes now, you might begin to feel that same rhythm within yourself. Your breath enters and leaves in waves, each one completing a perfect exchange with the world around you. You are both giver and receiver, both root and leaf, both body and soil. In this space, the boundaries that separate you from the forest dissolve. The warmth in your chest is the warmth of the sun filtered through leaves. The calm in your lungs is the calm of the underground web that holds everything steady. There is comfort in this unity. Fungi remind us that nothing stands alone. The smallest thread can hold the greatest tree. The quietest life can sustain entire worlds. Even the most fragile form, a thin stalk rising after rain, carries the wisdom of billions of years. We live within that same wisdom. Though we often forget, the heartbeat of the earth is not something to find, it is something to remember. It has always been there, waiting beneath the noise. Perhaps this is why walking through a forest brings peace. It is not only the sound of leaves or the scent of soil that soothes you, but the presence of the network beneath your feet. Your body recognizes it, even if your mind does not. You are standing upon your oldest relative, your first teacher, your quiet ancestor. The fungi below are part of the same lineage that gave rise to your own cells. You carry their chemistry within you. Their patience is written into your heartbeat. The deeper you breathe, the more you sense how natural it feels to belong to this rhythm. Every inhale is a reminder of connection. Every exhale a surrender to it. You are never truly separate. never truly alone. Life has been practicing this harmony for longer than memory can hold. And it continues through you. The same patterns that guide mycelium beneath the forest floor guide your thoughts, your dreams, your quiet moments of awe. In this way, you are a continuation of the same design. When you look back on all that you've learned about fungi, their glow, their resilience, their patience, you see that they are not just a subject of study. They are a mirror held up to life itself. Through them, you understand that endurance is not about conquering, but about belonging. Strength is not noise but consistency. Wisdom is not speed but attention. Fungi live by these truths without needing to name them. They remind us that peace is found not in escape but in participation, in breathing with the world rather than against it. Now the forest grows still again. The last light fades through the branches. Somewhere nearby, a single mushroom glows softly beneath a fallen log, its light pulsing in rhythm with your own heartbeat. In that glow, you see reflection, renewal, and the quiet promise that everything continues. The deeper journey into the fungal kingdom has brought you back to the simplest truth, that to live is to be connected, and to rest is to return to the web that holds you. Somewhere out there, beneath the surface of every forest, a quiet conversation continues without pause. It is the whisper of mycelium reaching across miles of soil, a dialogue that began long before the first human breath and will persist long after our last footprints fade. You are part of this conversation. Even now, even here, every breath you take is shaped by the work of fungi. Every heartbeat echoes their rhythm of renewal. When you understand this, science becomes more than knowledge, it becomes communion. Somewhere out there, beneath the moss and roots, the mycelial network glows faintly with life. Each filament pulses with tiny bursts of electricity, flown like thought through a nervous system that spans continents. The forest above moves in harmony with these signals, exchanging nutrients, adjusting growth, balancing temperature and moisture. It is not a static world but a living circuit, ancient and alive. The language of this circuit is balance, a message written in patterns of exchange. Somewhere out there, in the decay of fallen wood, life begins again. A single spore, invisible to the eye, awakens within the damp grain of bark. It stretches into threads, weaving through fibers, releasing enzymes that soften what was once rigid. Over time, the wood dissolves, its essence absorbed and distributed into the surrounding soil. Within months, the forest floor becomes richer, denser, ready to host another generation of growth. The death of one form sustains the birth of another. It is not tragedy, it is design. Somewhere in you, that same rhythm exists. The cells of your body renew themselves constantly, old ones dying and dissolving to make room for the new. The oxygen that fuels your blood once flowed through leaves. The carbon in your bones was forged in the hearts of stars. You are a walking reflection of the same process that turns fallen trees into soil and light into life. The universe breathes through you, and you through it, endlessly recycled, endlessly connected. When you walk through a forest, what you feel as peace is recognition. It is your body remembering what it means to belong. The stillness beneath the trees mirrors the stillness within your mind. The soft crackle of leaves underfoot mimics the pulse of your own energy. You are never outside nature, you are its continuation, its brief expression in human form. The fungi beneath your feet do not see you as separate, they respond to your warmth, your moisture, your chemistry, just as they would to rain or sunlight. To them, you are part of the pattern. The patience of fungi offers a lesson about time itself. They do not measure life in moments but in seasons, in centuries, in cycles that overlap and return. They teach that progress is not always movement forward. Sometimes it is stillness. Sometimes it is waiting. Sometimes it is falling apart so that something new can take shape. If you could slow yourself to their rhythm, you might see that your own life, too, unfolds perfectly, even in its pauses and endings. Imagine lying on the forest floor, eyes closed, the cool scent of earth surrounding you. Beneath your body, threads of mycelium spread in every direction, sensing vibration, pressure, and warmth. Above you, the canopy breathes in soft patterns of wind and light. Between these two worlds, the sky and the soil, you exist as bridge. You are made of both air and matter, of dreams and decay. And through that balance you belong to everything. Fungi do not divide the world between life and death, above and below, body and spirit. They weave it all together, one thread at a time. Somewhere out there, deep in the ocean, fungi grow on whale bones that have fallen to the seafloor. They break down calcium and protein, turning the remains of giants into nutrients for tiny worms and fish. The same process that feeds the forest also feeds the sea. There is no boundary to the fungal kingdom's generosity. Even in darkness, even in pressure and silence, the work continues. It reminds us that care is not bound by sight or recognition. It simply happens because life has learned to give. There are fungi that live within ice, awakening only when the temperature rises just enough for liquid water to appear. For most of the year, they exist in suspended animation, neither alive nor dead, waiting with perfect patience. When the thaw comes, they return to work, turning frozen detritus into food for other organisms. Their endurance reveals that hope is not an emotion but a natural law. Life is wired to begin again, no matter how long the winter lasts. Even the night sky seems to echo their pattern. The filaments of galaxies, glowing in the void, stretch and connect in forms that mirror mycelium. Between stars, matter gathers into webs, luminous and vast, linking clusters of suns the way fungi link trees. The universe itself may be a greater mycelium, a network of energy flowing through endless space, turning chaos into structure, nothingness into beauty. The pattern of connection repeats everywhere because it is the foundation of existence. Somewhere out there, deep in your own mind, that same pattern unfolds. Your neurons fire in webs, forming networks that process memory, emotion, and thought. Every idea, every dream, every feeling of awe is born from connections between tiny filaments of your brain. In this way, you are both the observer and the participant of the same universal architecture. The network outside mirrors the network within. To understand fungi is to recognize that the universe is not just around you, it is you. In this reflection, science becomes something gentler. It is no longer a search for mastery but a practice of listening. To study fungi is to study cooperation, empathy, and transformation. It is to observe how life thrives through sharing, how even decay can be a gift, how silence can hold intelligence. The closer you look, the more you find that knowledge itself is a living thing, growing in patterns just like the mycelium it seeks to understand. Somewhere out there, perhaps even beneath your home, the threads of fungi are spreading right now, unseen but alive, carrying nutrients, breaking down forgotten matter, feeding plants that will bloom in spring. They do not need applause or discovery. Their existence is enough. They remind us that meaning does not depend on recognition, that true purpose is fulfilled simply by being part of the cycle. The fungal kingdom holds no ambition, no hierarchy, no noise. It works in quiet service to balance, asking nothing in return. And yet, in that humility lies its greatness. Through stillness, it restores. Through decay, it creates. Through silence, it teaches. To listen to fungi is to learn how to live with grace, to build without consuming, to give without losing, to exist without dominating. Somewhere out there, under the endless canopy of trees, the forest continues its slow breathing. The moonlight drips through branches like silver rain, touching the damp soil and awakening its hidden life. In the stillness, threads of mycelium glimmer faintly, responding to the faint tremors of movement, an animal passing, a leaf falling, a raindrop landing on moss. Every vibration becomes part of their map, every sound a signal absorbed and translated into the silent flow of nutrients. Beneath your feet, communication hums like a heartbeat, and the earth itself feels alive. Somewhere in that darkness, a network stretches so vast that it defies imagination. The largest known organism on Earth is not a tree, not a coral reef, not a whale, but a single fungus spanning thousands of acres beneath Oregon's Blue Mountains. It has lived for thousands of years, feeding and being fed, surviving drought, fire, and frost. Its body is invisible to the eye, but its presence sustains entire ecosystems above it. When we imagine power, we often picture size or speed, but true power lies in endurance, in the quiet persistence of connection that outlasts every storm. This same endurance exists within you. Beneath your worries, your hopes, your endless motion, there is a rhythm that moves at the pace of the planet. It is the rhythm of your breath aligning with the pulse of the soil. It is the rhythm of every cell in your body exchanging oxygen, water, and minerals with the world beyond your skin. You are, in every sense, porous. The line between you and the earth is not a border but a gradient, a slow blending of energies. The fungi beneath you do not distinguish between where they end and where life begins. They understand something that we are still learning, that everything is one continuous body, dreaming itself into countless shapes. Somewhere out there, on a fallen log softened by rain, tiny mushrooms rise in clusters like lanterns. Their caps glisten with dew, each droplet catching the moonlight like glass. To see them is to witness patience turned into form. These mushrooms did not rush to exist. They waited, through dryness, through cold, through silence, until the air, temperature, and light aligned perfectly. Then, and only then, they emerged, fully formed, perfect in their timing. The lesson is simple and profound. Growth is not about striving, but about readiness. The forest's stillness is a kind of wisdom. It does not demand attention, yet it holds everything together. Trees fall, leaves decay, rivers shift their paths, and through it all, fungi remain, quietly weaving continuity. They remind you that life's meaning is not found in permanence, but in participation. To live well is not to resist change but to flow with it. As mycelium flows through the ground, adaptable, soft, and unstoppable. Somewhere out there, deep in the soil, mycelium threads encounter the roots of a tree. The meeting is silent, yet it changes both lives. The fungus offers minerals drawn from stone. The tree returns sugars gathered from sunlight. This exchange, repeated billions of times, forms the foundation of the forest's health. What appears as generosity is simply recognition, the understanding that giving and receiving are the same act viewed from different directions. Nature does not separate the two, it calls them balance. If you could hear the symphony of this exchange, It would not sound like music as you know it. It would sound like the low, continuous hum of being. A frequency so deep it moves more through your bones than through your ears. Perhaps this is why people feel peace among trees. The vibration of the living earth resonates with something ancient inside us. Something that remembers the time before words, before thought, before separation. Fungi are the instruments of that memory, tuning the soil to harmony. Somewhere within you, that same harmony exists. Your body, too, is a network, veins carrying rivers of life, nerves carrying light. When you sleep, when you breathe, when you dream, your inner currents mirror those beneath the soil. Even your brain, with its billions of connections, resembles a forest illuminated by lightning. The resemblance is not coincidence. It is a reflection of the universe's pattern, repeating itself at every scale. You are not like the forest, you are the forest. You are not inspired by the universe, you are its continuation. Fungi also teach resilience in the face of darkness. Many species thrive without sunlight, feeding on what others discard. They grow in caves, in decay, in the shadowed corners where life seems absent. And yet, they transform absence into abundance. They are alchemists of the unseen, turning waste into nourishment, silence into song. Their existence is proof that even in darkness, creation continues. When you find yourself lost or uncertain, remember them. Growth often happens when the world feels most still. Somewhere out there, the glow of bioluminescent fungi casts soft light on the forest floor. The color is not harsh or bright, but deep and patient, like the reflection of stars in water. This gentle illumination feels almost sacred, as though the earth itself is exhaling light. To see it is to realize that beauty does not always need an audience. The mushroom glows whether you are there or not. It shines simply because shining is part of its nature. What would it mean for you to live that way, to glow quietly, without need for recognition, simply because you were made to bring light? Fungi are also masters of transformation. Their chemistry can dismantle the hardest materials, wood, bone, even stone, and rearrange them into forms that can feed life. This transformation is not destruction but translation. They take what the world has discarded and turn it into new beginnings. The forest relies on this constant recycling, this silent generosity, and perhaps we can too. Every experience, every loss, every moment of letting go becomes raw material for something that will grow later. When you imagine the world beneath your feet, do not picture emptiness but endless potential. The soil is not dead matter but living memory. It remembers the trees that once stood, the rain that once fell, the footsteps that once crossed. It holds everything without judgment, turning it all into nourishment. To walk upon it is to walk upon forgiveness itself. Fungi teach that the earth does not punish, it transforms. It takes what is broken and makes it whole again, over and over, without end. Somewhere out there, and also somewhere in you, life continues to weave itself from silence. The forest grows not by force but by grace, not through noise but through listening. The fungi do not fight for space, they find it. They do not conquer the dark, they illuminate it. Every lesson they offer is a reminder that balance is not the absence of struggle but the harmony that arises when everything plays its part. Somewhere out there, in the half-light before dawn, the forest begins to stir. Mist drifts low across the ground, curling between tree roots like breath. Beneath that veil, the fungal network hums with purpose. Spores have traveled through the night, invisible messengers carried by wind and dew, ready to settle into soil. The moment light touches the horizon, A quiet alchemy begins again. This rhythm is eternal, a slow, unending heartbeat that never loses patience. It is the same rhythm that guides tides and stars. The same rhythm that moves in you when you breathe. Somewhere out there, a fallen leaf decomposes, becoming soft and dark as fungi feed upon it. What was once surface becomes depth. What was once separate becomes whole. Every cell that breaks down is reborn in 1,000 forms, a flower petal, a seed, a drop of rain. The forest has no waste, no finality. Every end folds into a beginning. Each beginning grows from what once was. The fungi oversee this endless metamorphosis with quiet devotion. Their world has no word for failure, it knows only transformation. In the hidden world beneath us, fungi weave what scientists call the wood wide web, a vast, breathing intelligence that connects all plants in a forest. Trees send warnings through it when droughts approach. Saplings receive sugars from their elders. Even dying trees pour their last reserves into the network so that life around them may continue. It is a system of sharing more elegant than any human design. When you realize that every leaf above your head owes its color to the generosity of fungi below, gratitude blooms in a way that feels sacred. Somewhere out there, in the quiet corners of the earth, fungi are shaping the future. Engineers are growing mycelium into sustainable materials, furniture, bricks, fabrics, and even homes that can repair themselves and return to the soil when their time is done. Artists sculpt with living fibers, creating objects that breathe. Scientists explore how fungal threads can store data or generate electricity. It is as if the oldest life form on land has returned to guide us into a gentler age, teaching through example that progress can grow from patience, and technology can coexist with tenderness. Somewhere inside you, these same lessons echo. Your own growth, like the mushrooms, depends on invisible processes beneath the surface, memories, emotions, quiet moments that no one else sees. What blooms on the outside is only a fraction of the story. Beneath your skin, entire forests of thought and feeling take shape, feeding your choices and dreams. When you honor that hidden work, you align with the deeper pace of life. You become like the mycelium, unseen, yet essential. There are mushrooms that appear only once in decades, waiting for rare combinations of temperature and rain. Their patience rewrites the meaning of time. They remind us that not everything must happen quickly to have value. Some lives unfold slowly, perfectly synchronized with cycles too vast to measure. The universe seems to favor this slowness, the gentle rhythm that allows each moment to ripen fully before it passes. Fungi embody this rhythm, and through them we remember that stillness is not idleness, it is wisdom. The harmony of fungi extends beyond life itself. Even when they die, their bodies become architecture for others. Decomposing mycelium creates microhabitats for insects and bacteria. Dead mushrooms release compounds that feed new spores. Nothing is lost, not even identity. Every existence folds into another like waves merging in the ocean. It is a philosophy written into biology. Everything is both giver and receiver. Origin and outcome, presence and echo. Somewhere out there, on a mountainside blanketed by mist, a single glowing mushroom shines through darkness. It is small, easy to overlook, yet its light softens the shadows around it. For travelers who see it, it feels like a beacon, a promise that even in solitude, beauty persists. The glow is faint, but it travels far in memory, reminding anyone who witnesses it that light does not have to be loud to matter. Fungi show that illumination can come from the humblest of sources, a truth as scientific as it is spiritual. Fungi are caretakers of silence. They do not speak, but they listen. Their networks respond to subtle vibrations, footsteps, rainfall, even the approach of roots seeking water. In that listening lies intelligence. They shape themselves around need, adapting constantly to what the world requires. If we learned to listen as they do, perhaps we would understand the Earth's language once more. It speaks not in words but in rhythms, the sound of falling leaves, the pulse of rain, the hush between heartbeats. Somewhere in the dark soil, a fungal spore waits. It may rest for years, untouched, until the exact combination of warmth and moisture awakens it. When it finally grows, it does not complain about the time it took. It simply begins. Its patience carries an understanding older than time itself, that everything happens in its own season, and nothing is ever truly late. This patience is a kind of faith, not in an outcome, but in the inevitability of renewal. The Earth itself seems to trust fungi. They manage the planet's waste, balance its gases, regulate its nutrients. They transform what is heavy into what is light, what is forgotten into what is remembered. Every forest is a testament to their devotion. Every breath of oxygen you take has passed through the invisible labor of their cycles. If there is holiness in nature, perhaps it is found not in the thunder or the sun, but in the quiet, steady work beneath our feet. And just as the mycelium connects the forest, so too does it connect the cosmos within you. The synapses of your brain, the currents of your heartbeat, the whisper of your breath, all follow the same geometry of flow. The structure of thought mirrors the structure of roots. The pattern of memory mirrors the spread of spores. You are both observer and participant in this grand equation. The fungi beneath you and the thoughts within you are expressions of the same creative intelligence, written in different languages but telling the same story. When you walk across the earth and feel its softness, you are touching the body of the planet itself. The mycelium beneath the surface is the planet's skin, renewing and protecting it. Each step you take is acknowledged by millions of tiny lives, all responding, all adjusting, all making space for you. To move gently is to show respect for this vast living fabric. Every footprint is a conversation, and every act of awareness is a form of gratitude. Somewhere out there, the forest begins to glow again, dew catching starlight, air shimmering with spores. The silence feels deeper now, more complete. You realize that the peace you feel is not coming from the forest, but from the recognition that you and the forest are the same. The mycelium threads beneath you are mirrored by the thoughts threading through your mind. Both seek connection, both create harmony, both know how to begin again after ending. Somewhere out there, in a quiet valley hidden from the noise of cities, dawn begins to warm the soil. The first rays of sunlight reach the forest floor, and within that golden hush the unseen kingdom stirs. Beneath the moss and roots, mycelium awakens in slow rhythm, sensing the change of temperature, the promise of new growth. The forest hums with invisible activity, yet nothing rushes. Each thread of fungi knows exactly when to move, when to rest, when to bloom. Time here is not a straight line but a circle, an eternal breath between creation and return. Somewhere beneath your thoughts, the same rhythm continues. Your body, too, lives in cycles. Cells die and are replaced. Lungs expand and contract. The heart opens and closes in steady waves. You are never static, never still, even in sleep. Within you, decay and renewal coexist in perfect harmony. just as they do in the forest. The difference between life and death becomes less defined, more like a transition of energy from one form to another. The fungi beneath the earth understand this truth instinctively. They do not fear endings, for endings are only transformations in disguise. Somewhere out there, in the shadows of tall pines, mushrooms rise through fallen leaves, their caps unfolding like small moons. Each one carries within it the memory of a vast underground world, the web that gave it birth. The nutrients it borrowed, the energy it now returns. To see a mushroom is to glimpse the visible face of an invisible universe. Its beauty lies not in its individuality but in what it represents: connection, cooperation, continuity. It is the voice of the earth made flesh for a moment. A reminder that everything seen is supported by what is unseen. As you picture this, notice how your mind softens. The edges between yourself and the world begin to fade. You feel the forest breathing, and your breath moves with it. The stillness deepens. The sounds of wind and water weave together like distant music. Somewhere nearby, a drop of rain falls from a leaf, landing softly on the ground. It disappears instantly, absorbed by the soil and drawn into the web of mycelium that waits below. Even this smallest act, a raindrop joining the earth, is an offering. A moment of unity that repeats endlessly across time. Fungi do not seek to conquer their environment, they collaborate with it. They teach that balance arises not from control, but from participation. Their strength lies in adaptability, in the ability to yield and yet remain. They do not resist change, they guide it, absorbing chaos and returning harmony. If humanity could learn from them, perhaps we too would remember that the secret to endurance is gentleness. And the secret to creation is listening. The mycelium does not shout its wisdom, it whispers it into the soil. Only those who grow quiet enough can hear. Somewhere out there, deep beneath an ancient forest, a single fungal spore drifts into darkness. It lands beside another, their threads reaching toward each other until they fuse. From that union, a network begins to form, branching, connecting, pulsing with the spark of new life. Within months, the ground above will change. Trees will grow taller. Leaves will turn greener. Flowers will bloom where none bloomed before. All of it born from a meeting so small it could never be seen. This is how the world evolves, through invisible connections. Through quiet cooperation that ripples outward into beauty. If you imagine the entire earth as a single organism, fungi are its circulatory system. They carry nutrients where they are needed, clear waste when it accumulates, and knit the wounds left by storms and time. Without them, the planet would fall silent under the weight of its own remains. With them, the cycle of life continues, each season renewing the one before it. The earth stays alive because it remembers how to heal. And fungi are that memory made visible. Somewhere out there, beyond our sight, their spores rise into the wind, carried high into the atmosphere. Some will fall back to forests and fields. Others will drift into the ocean. A few may travel beyond, into the thin veil of space, perhaps to find new worlds to seed. The idea that life could travel between planets on the backs of fungal spores is not just poetic, it is scientific possibility. The same tenacity that allows them to survive radiation and vacuum might one day spread life beyond Earth. In that way, fungi are not just earth-bound caretakers, they are ambassadors of continuity, carrying the message of living connection into the stars. When you stand beneath the night sky and see the Milky Way stretching overhead, you are looking at a reflection of the same pattern that runs through the ground below. The stars form filaments of light, clustering in vast networks across the universe. Just as mycelium forms networks beneath your feet, the macrocosm mirrors the microcosm, each scale repeating the same design. The universe does not separate sky from soil, it only changes the medium through which it speaks. Fungi remind us that we, too, are threads in this cosmic fabric. Every action, every breath, every word ripples outward through the web of existence. Kindness travels farther than you imagine. Nourishment reaches more lives than you will ever see. When you give freely, the world grows richer. When you take mindfully, balance is preserved. To live in awareness of this network is to live in harmony with the purpose of the earth itself. Somewhere out there, the forest breathes again, slow, soft, and eternal. Beneath it, the mycelium glows with energy drawn from decay and sunlight alike. It is neither alive nor dead in the way we define those words. It simply is, ancient, necessary, unbroken. Its wisdom hums beneath all existence, teaching that to endure is to give, to change, and to remember. And in that realization, something inside you exhales. You begin to understand that the story of fungi is also your story, a tale of connection, resilience, and quiet wonder written across every living thing. Night has deepened across the forest, and the world is quiet once more. The wind moves softly through the leaves, carrying the scent of damp earth and wood. Above, the stars shimmer like spores drifting across an infinite sky. Beneath, the soil hums with life that never sleeps. In this hour of stillness, the distinction between above and below, between the stars and the soil, begins to fade. You can almost feel that the forest, the air, and even your thoughts are part of the same breath, slow, rhythmic, and eternal. Somewhere beneath your resting body, the mycelium continues its work. It carries water to thirsty roots, breaks down fallen leaves, and folds the memory of past seasons into the soil. It does not rush. It does not stop. It simply continues, guided by a wisdom that predates every mountain and ocean. You may never see it, but its care shapes everything you love about the living world. The softness of moss, the scent of rain, the strength of trees, all are gifts from that hidden web. Its generosity is the quiet kind, the kind that expects nothing in return. When you close your eyes, you can imagine its threads extending outward, connecting the entire planet in a single living circuit. You can follow it across forests, under oceans, through mountains and deserts. The same pattern that ties together the smallest sprout and the tallest tree reaches also into you, connecting your breath to the wind, your heartbeat to the pulse of the earth. The realization is humbling, yet comforting. You are not apart from nature, you are a continuation of it. One filament in the endless network that holds the world together. Every moment of your life has been supported by this web. Even if unseen, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the soil that feeds your crops, the forests that balance the planet's breath, all rely on fungi doing their work in silence. Their persistence makes existence possible. You are here tonight, breathing calmly, surrounded by quiet beauty, because beneath the surface of everything, a kingdom of connection is always awake. There is a kind of peace that comes from recognizing how small you are within this vast design, and how perfectly placed you are at the same time. You do not need to control the world to belong to it. You do not need to understand every mystery to be part of its rhythm. The mycelium does not question its purpose, it simply lives. And through that living, the forest thrives. So too can you. You are already fulfilling your role in the great pattern, by breathing, by feeling, by existing with awareness. As you rest, remember that the same chemical elements flowing through fungi flow through you. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, all recycled endlessly through the cycle of decay and rebirth. When you breathe out, you return part of yourself to the earth. When you breathe in, the earth gives back. This gentle exchange has been happening since the beginning of time. An infinite conversation between body and planet. There is no separation, only sharing. Somewhere out there, in a forest far from here, rain is falling through leaves. It pools on the ground, feeding roots and seeds and mycelium. Tiny mushrooms will rise overnight, brief and beautiful, only to fade again with the next dawn. Their life is short, yet their purpose eternal. To remind the earth how to begin again. You, too, are part of that lesson. Your life, in all its moments of growth and letting go, mirrors the same grace. You are temporary, yet infinite in your participation. You are both the mushroom and the soil that receives it. The fungi teach a kind of wisdom that does not need words. They show that endings are not losses but transformations. That light can grow from decay. That creation is not about conquering but about belonging. If you ever feel small, remember that the entire planet depends on the smallest of organisms. If you ever feel lost, remember that beneath your feet lies a map of endless connections, guiding every root and leaf toward balance. You have never truly been alone. In the stillness of night, imagine the sound of rain turning into a steady rhythm, like the beating of the earth's heart. Each drop lands softly, absorbed by moss, welcomed by soil, carried into the web of life. The forest sighs in contentment. The air becomes heavy with the scent of renewal. Somewhere, a single glowing mushroom flickers faintly. Its light steady and calm. It glows not for attention, not for survival, but because that is what it was born to do. In that small glow, you find a reflection of yourself, a quiet light existing peacefully within a greater darkness. Enough to warm the space around it. The longer you listen, the more you realize that silence is not empty. It is full of presence, of small movements, subtle breaths, gentle exchanges. The fungi move through silence the way rivers move through valleys, slowly shaping everything they touch. If you could translate that silence into language, it might say, be patient, give freely, and trust the cycle. Everything you give returns in time, changed but still part of you. Everything you lose becomes something else that will one day find you again. As you lie here, your body resting and your breath slowing, let yourself imagine roots extending from your spine into the earth. They move downward gently, twining with the threads of mycelium, joining the ancient conversation beneath you. You are no longer separate from the soil, you are part of its song. Through you, the earth feels its own calm reflected back. Through you, the planet remembers that it is alive. Somewhere out there, stars are forming in distant galaxies. The hydrogen that fuels their light is the same hydrogen that fills your lungs. The oxygen you breathe tonight was once part of ancient oceans. The atoms in your body have been part of countless lives before. Leaves, stones, mushrooms, and other hearts that beat and faded long ago. You are a traveler in an eternal circle, never beginning, never ending, always returning in new form. In this way, the story of fungi becomes the story of all existence, the story of continuity. The more you breathe, the deeper your body sinks into that understanding. Each inhale is a thread pulling you closer to peace. Each exhale releases what you no longer need. The forest breathes with you. The stars breathe with you. The mycelium carries your rhythm through the ground, spreading calm to the roots. to the stones, to the smallest seeds preparing to grow. In this shared breath, you find rest. Now the night has grown deeper. The forest glows faintly in the starlight, every detail softened by shadow. The world feels suspended between heartbeat and dream. Within this stillness, you can sense the truth that the fungi have always known, that life is not about survival, but about participation. Every act of living, breathing, growing, resting, is an act of belonging. The earth does not need you to be more, it needs you to be present. To listen, to love what is. Somewhere beneath the trees, the mycelium continues to hum, eternal and effortless. It carries the memory of everything that has ever lived and the promise of everything that will. Its work never ends, yet it never tires. Its purpose is simple: to connect, to balance, to turn endings into beginnings. That same purpose moves quietly through you, guiding you toward peace even when you are unaware of it. You can rest now. You are held by the same earth that holds the forest, the same soil that feeds the mushrooms, the same rhythm that carries the tides and the stars. You are not separate from the web of life. You are woven perfectly within it. Let this understanding cradle you like the forest cradles its seeds. Let the quiet of the night seep into your bones. Let your thoughts drift like spores into the air, light and free, carried by the breath of the universe. As sleep begins to gather around you, know that the world continues its gentle work. The fungi weave through darkness, keeping the balance, renewing the ground, sustaining the pulse of life. Tomorrow, new mushrooms will rise where others faded. New trees will grow from the soil enriched by what came before. And you, resting in their rhythm, are part of that same eternal renewal. So breathe, slowly and fully. Feel your body soften into the bed of the earth. Let every breath carry you deeper into calm, until you can no longer tell where you end and the forest begins. You are home, in the soil, in the air, in the quiet harmony of life itself. The forest breathes once more, and the fungi hum beneath your dreams. Everything is connected, everything is alive, everything is at peace. And tonight, so are you.